In this video, I want to show you how to do an animation map. You do something like this. I'm going to show you a couple ways you can alter it and fix it if you need to. So let's start from scratch. First, I just took a screenshot from Google Maps, brought it in, it's a single frame, and then I told the duration to be 30 seconds. I didn't make a fusion composition or anything like that. I selected it all and Shift 5 over to Fusion. I did zoom in a little bit. So with the screenshot selected, I'm going to hit Shift Space and choose Paint. And now we have a paint node connected. What I'm going to do is choose this icon here called the Polyline Stroke here. We'll throw this into the viewer so we can see how big our line is. So first thing, I'll just change this to the blue color. And under brush controls here, we can adjust the size and we can bring the softness down or up depending on what we want to do. And then we'll bring the size down similar to the road, but it doesn't have to be exact. Okay, so now let's animate. What we want to do is make sure we're on the very first frame here. And I'm going to select this point and delete it. And that one as well. We'll take this original point. This will be our starting point right here. So we want the animation to start here. I'll zoom in. And we only have to animate this over a single frame, and then I'll show you how to do the ride-on effect. Now, if you want to look at your overlay without seeing the paint line, you can always bring the opacity down here. And if you can zoom in and get it right along the ridge of the road here, that's really what makes your animation look better. So the long stretches you can move forward on, but try to get the curves pretty decently. You can go back and adjust some of this. It's not fully customizable because you're not closing the loop on this particular animation, but I'll show you what I mean. So I won't do the whole thing, but as you can see, we're just going to get some of the curves going. And then anywhere there's a little bit of a straighter spot, I'll jump ahead, something like that. If you can get pretty tight into the curve, it makes the animation look a little smoother. So let's say that's good enough. Now I'll adjust the opacity back and maybe we'll size it down. I am zoomed in quite a bit, so this is about how big it will be. So we probably need a little bit bigger of a line there, something like that. And then that's what it'll look like without the tool on here, something of that nature. So I'll put paint back on. And now we want to do the ride-on effect. Since we're on the first frame, we're already at frame 0. Down here in the paint, under stroke control, we have our ride-on effect. I'll take the right side of this slider and slide it back. And then we'll make a keyframe. So that's saying at the first frame, don't ride on. Then I'll hit this forward arrow to be on our last frame, and then I'll slide this ride on all the way open. Now, if we go back to the starting frame and hit play, you can see our animation rides on. Now, let's say we didn't hug the line as much as we wanted. Maybe we wanted to make the curve a little more embellished. We can still click on our paint tool and drop that into our viewer. And if we go forward here, maybe down to one of these other curves, here's a spot that we didn't quite hit the line. I can zoom in here, and it doesn't matter where you're at as long as this is visible. You can grab this point and sort of slide it over like this. When it's not closed, it's kind of like one point at a time. Otherwise, if you were to make a closed shape. Now you still can use the tangents here. So if I click on this dot and then move the tangent, you can adjust the curves like that to get a smoother looking curve. Maybe right here, we want it a little sharper, something like this. And see if I click outside, it'll add another curve. That's how you can adjust that curve. So now it looks a little fat, but we'll go Command F and zoom out again. And we'll put the media out in viewer number 2, go back to the beginning. And here's our animation. So you can zoom in a little bit. Now another cool thing you can do is on paint, there's spacing down here in the stroke controls. So if we make this to 1.0, you actually get this cool little dotted line style. So right there, the softness might be a little too much. So we could bring the softness down. And now you have sort of like a trail map in that regard, or you can just adjust it back to more of a solid spacing, double click it, it's 0.2. And if we zoom back out, that's what it looks like. So that's how you can do an animation map. All right, hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. See you guys on the next one.